From the sky, it looks like a glitch. You see these perfect, massive green rings and small houses resting right on top of the water. This is India's Loktak Lake. But the central deception of this landscape is that absolutely none of the green patches you see here are solid ground. Instead, the lake is covered in Phumdis, incredibly thick, floating mats made entirely of soil, dense vegetation, and decaying organic matter. A Phumdi behaves almost exactly like a biological iceberg, with only 20% of the mass visible above the surface and 80% submerged below. This entire ecosystem is built on top of a giant sinking sponge. These floating islands cannot survive permanently disconnected from the earth. To keep the vegetation alive, the roots need to replenish their nutrients, which forces the environment into a massive seasonal cycle. During the wet season, the lake fills up. The high water levels detach the roots from the lake bed, allowing thousands of tons of biomass to drift freely across the surface. As the dry season arrives, the mechanics reverse. The water level recedes, and the heavy biomass sinks. The massive root system touches the lake bed, spreading out to anchor into the dirt and extract essential nutrients directly from the soil. Then the monsoon rains return, the lake swells, and the rising water pulls the newly fed roots from the muddy bottom, pushing the rejuvenated island back to the surface. The landscape acts as a biological engine, breathing vertically with the seasons. It creates a foundation so unstable that every piece of local wildlife and every human living here has been forced to adapt. Take a look at Keibul Lamjao. It is a 40-square-kilometer stretch of compressed Phumdis, and it functions as the only floating national park on Earth. It is also the exclusive home of the Songhai. In the 1950s, scientists believed this rare species of deer had gone completely extinct until a surviving population was discovered hiding right here. Surviving here presents a serious biomechanical problem. A heavy mammal walking on a yielding, meter-thick floating mat requires a completely different approach to weight distribution than walking on solid dirt. Over time, the Songhai evolved a unique physical solution. Instead of landing hard and punching through the roots, it adjusts its gait to walk heavily on the hind surface of its pasterns. It moves in short, delicate hops, ensuring the surface doesn't give way. This balancing act earned them the title of dancing deer, showing how specialized movement can turn a sinking sponge into a secure habitat. Humans have had to figure out this landscape too. For the Métis fishing community, the challenge was establishing an agricultural economy without access to a single acre of traditional farmland. Those mysterious green circles visible from the air are their solution. Known locally as a topham, they are man-made, floating fish culture ponds. To engineer them, fishermen take sharp tools and manually slice the thick Phumdis into long rectangular strips. Then they physically bend the living biomass to form massive, isolated rings. Once the ring is shaped, they cast heavy nets into the hollow center. They place specialized feed around the outer edges of this texture, using it as bait to draw wild fish out of the open lake and into their trap. The Métis have re-engineered the lake bed, sculpting the living matter of the water into a productive agricultural grid. Securing food is one thing, but building a place to sleep is a matter of sheer physics. If you construct a permanent, heavy shelter directly onto rotting vegetation, gravity dictates it will eventually sink. Yet across the lake, fishermen have built distinct floating huts, known in their language as phums. The engineering relies entirely on calculated mass. Builders chop chunks out of the surrounding islands and stack that vegetation directly onto their foundation. They artificially thicken the mat until it generates enough buoyancy to bear the weight of a house. This strategy supports incredible weight. Today, the thickest Phumdis hold massive bamboo homes, aquatic homestays, and even India's first fully floating school. This local architecture rejects concrete and steel. It relies on a calculated manipulation of buoyancy and rot to build an active, thriving community. When you look at Loktak Lake as a whole, you realize that it operates as one singular, highly sensitive mechanism. Every piece is absolutely interdependent. If the seasonal water levels fail to drop, the roots of the Phumdis will dry out and die. Without the Phumdis, the Songhai deer lose their sanctuary, and the fishermen lose the very foundation of their homes. The local community understands this fragility. They revere the ecosystem. referring to the lake in their native tongue as Ima, which translates directly to mother. Modern civilization typically demands rigid infrastructure. When faced with a difficult landscape, the standard human instinct is to pave over nature and force it to stand still. Loktak Lake shows that civilization and wildlife thrive together when human systems are built to move with the natural shifts of the environment.